All right. Mic check. I'm good. So I'm Max Duran. CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest. Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of our CWB Association podcast in collaboration with Skills Canada. Over the next 13 to 14 podcasts, we are going to be interviewing people from across Canada who have been involved with skills at various levels. And I am very interested to find out and learn about skills from different perspectives, but also different trades. So as many people know, I am the host of the CWB Association podcast for welding. But today we have Connor Kaszycki coming to us here, and he is from an electrical background. Am I correct in that?
Nope, you are correct. Construction electrician particularly.
Construction electrician. So Connor, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much for having me on, Max. It's an honor and a privilege.
Awesome. So where are you calling in from? Give us your deets here.
So I'm calling in from Whitehorse, Yukon currently. Pretty far north, and basically just calling from my house, and I've basically just been working in the trades for around a good 5 or 6 years now.
So Whitehorse is, I've heard only wonderful things. I've had some friends go up for short-term jobs and never come back because they love it up there. But were you born up in the territories, or did you move there?
I moved here. I basically finished my high schooling in Ontario. I had an opportunity to come up here for some trades experience and some work, and I decided to jump on it. And it's been the best decision of my life.
So they stole you from Ontario then?
Yeah, just like everybody else up here.
So tell me, Connor, did you get into the trades while you were still in Ontario? Did you get into it then and then go to the territories after, or did that decision come after you moved up there?
Decision came kind of before I moved up here, just as soon as I graduated high school, because I still didn't know what the heck I wanted to do at the time. And my family and a couple of my dad's friends said, hey, why don't you give the trades a try? Why don't you give electrical a try and see what happens? Just come up with us to Whitehorse and do some of your schooling there. I jumped at the opportunity. I thought it sounded like something I really wanted to do. So I thought, let's give it a shot.
So who in your family has a connection to Whitehorse? Like, why Whitehorse?
Why Whitehorse is because my dad ended up getting a job up here. He's working for Northwest Tel currently. He's basically heading the technical department, and basically he moved up here. We all came with him.
Well, that sounds like a pretty neat adventure for you and the family. Now, when you got to, the northern territories and you decided, hey, I want to get into a trade or an electrical program, one of the barriers that I hear about often is that there is not a lot to choose from. There's not like the ability like in a larger center where you have multiple schools teaching, multiple start times throughout the year, and then even the apprenticeship side when you're done school, where do you get a job? So let's start at the beginning. You move up to Whitehorse with your family. You're thinking about the trades. Was it difficult to find a place to go to school, or was it pretty straightforward?
A place to go to school is actually the easy part. We have plenty of programs up here in Whitehorse for trades, and they all just go through Yukon College. They hold classes for most of the trades at the beginner level every year. And then for second, third, and fourth year in the apprenticeship, and I can get to that in a little bit, they basically do that, I think, every couple of years. They hold a course. So, and then the curriculum up here also connects to the curriculum down in Alberta. So if you ever wanted to just go back to school or do a trades course, if you want to enter an apprenticeship program here, you could go down to Alberta, take your schooling, come back up here, and then do your work.
So, that's actually an interesting conversation because apprenticeship is supposed to be harmonized nationally. Technically, if you ask anybody at the top of the pyramid, if you study anywhere in Canada, you should be able to finish anywhere else in Canada. But I have heard many times over the years from skills friends and other trainers up north that generally almost everything is framed off of Alberta. So do you know, I don't, maybe you don't, but do you know why Alberta and why not any other province when they're all supposed to be harmonized?
I think it has, in my experience, I think it has less to do with the actual educational curriculum and more to do with the bylaws surrounding electrical to each province and territory, because they're different everywhere. You have a different code book in Ontario, you have a different code book in Vancouver, and you have a different code book in Alberta and the Yukon. You have a different code book in Northwest Territories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so then basically, in terms of just opening up more opportunity, it makes sense to train as a partner, right?
Yes, and they do have a program that does allow you to work nationally within Canada. That it's called Red Seal. Basically, during fourth year, you have a couple extra weeks to your classes just to learn about some idiosyncrasies and differences between each of the provinces and territories in terms of code and how they like to do things. And basically, you can take an extra test, you get your Red Seal, and you're allowed to work anywhere in Canada.
Yep, and that's very. It's different in every trade. Like for welding, I basically got my red seal as soon as I finished my final year. So it was like one and the same. It wasn't an extra test. It was just the test.
Right. Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
when you enrolled into year one, in school, what was that like? Did you immediately think I'm good at this? Was it difficult? Did you have a big class? Was it small? Tell me about it.
So basically, for year one, it's split into two parts that basically take a total of around 6 months. You got your pre-apprenticeship course, which is around 3 months, where they basically teach you, hey, here's how to install stuff. You got your standard wiring for Lumex. You can do some conduit runs. You can do a whole whackload of other stuff just to get you prepared for a work experience. And then you do 3 months or like 2 to 3 months of normal classes.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, year one, did you already have an instructor looking at you being like, Connor, have you ever thought about skills, or were you not that into it yet, or were you all in?
I was still figuring out what the heck I was doing in year one. So let's just say I struggled a little bit. But at the end, I got the hang of it eventually. It may have taken me a year or two, but I was eventually able to figure it out and iron out some kinks.
So then you went back into industry after year one, like all people have to. Where did you take your level 2?
Same deal here. Basically, I just worked for as long as I could to acquire as much hours as I could, and I just went back to school here for level 2 because they do offer all 4 levels here in Whitehorse.
Good. And so when did the skills bug start coming in? Because as an instructor who has mentored through skills, you start looking at all your students and being like, maybe, no, maybe. At what point did an instructor or a mentor come up to you and say, hey, this might be a possibility for you?
I'd say during second year, Aaron, my instructor at the college, he's also a member of the NAC board on skills. He basically came up to me and asked and said, hey, I think you'd do pretty well if you got into skills. And I wasn't able to do that in second and third year just due to scheduling conflicts with vacations and everything else. But during my fourth year of school, my instructor ran it by me again. This time I had the ability to do it. And I thought, hey, it's going to be a great experience. I might as well give it a shot. I wasn't completely on like the whole skills train at that point, but I could definitely say the national competition, when I actually went there, completely changed my mind. And now I full blown love the damn thing.
So what were those beginning experiences like when you first were like, okay, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. And then you have to officially register and you have your mentor, you have, your training. And they start having to be like, okay, you're going to have to put in extra time. You're going to have to stay after school. You're going to have to, find time, perhaps weekends, to practice on this stuff. Did you have to go through all of that? Were you working? How did you balance that training schedule?
Well, in construction electrician, basically all the work that I have to do day in, day out is basically practice for skills, because the competition is literally just a mirror of everything you have to do in real life just during your trade. So I didn't really have to set aside any extra time for practice or anything along those lines. I did have to go to a couple meetings here and there, but just being on the job was most of my practice.
And was there lots of work? Did you have any trouble finding work, at any points throughout your schooling?
It's hot and it's cold here. There are some years where there is never enough work. And it's kind of difficult to find a job here or there. And then there are some years like recently where there's just so much work everywhere and we kind of almost have a shortage of tradespeople up here, which is
Mm-hmm.
the shocking thing to say. And when you live in Whitehorse, Yukon, everybody's so outdoorsy.
And is that true? Is that just something that city people or the rest of Canada thinks about the Northern Territories, that everyone needs to be outdoorsy?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of, and I've talked to a lot of my Ontario friends before, and they all seem to think, "Oh, hey, you live in Whitehorse. Damn, you probably go skiing. You got to probably doing all these hikes and going up all these mountains and stuff like that." It's like, yeah, there's a lot of people who do that, and there's also a lot of people who just come up here to chill. Like,
Yeah, just
it's
slow
just
down.
a nice community.
Yeah. So, as you entered your 4th year and you now are registered with skills, there's a kind of a double-edged sword there. This is now your final go at it, because, once you graduate and become a journey person, you're not able to do skills anymore. And, where were you on that bandwidth in terms of almost finishing your apprenticeship, your age, which is a big deal in skills? Were you at the right timing, or did you know that it was going to be a short run?
I think personally, I wish I had done it maybe a year earlier. Maybe just give it a shot a year earlier and see how it went. It's just a shame that I went on vacation the time the competition was happening, so I couldn't. But yeah, I'd say for 4th year, I honestly thought I was going to go down to skills. I was going to get my ass kicked, and I was going to come back happy with a full new experience and everything like that. And it actually surprised me just how incredible the experience was, and I'm still shocked I took home a gold medal.
So explain to me that experience going down to nationals, because provincials for your province are going to be pretty small. Yeah. Probably not a ton of people at provincials, probably not a ton of trades, so you're excited in your province, your territory, and then you go to nationals. Where was your nationals that you went to?
It was in Vancouver, and it was in 2022.
So it was awesome out there, and I was out there. And what did you feel like walking into this massive venue? Like, the Vancouver Conference Center is massive, and all these people, thousands and thousands of people. What was going through your head?
That I was just hoping I didn't make a complete idiot of myself while working, because there was definitely pressure. There was absolutely pressure, because you have all of these high school kids walking around. You have a bunch of dignified people within the trades walking around, analyzing what you're doing and everything like that. And you have to set a good example too, because you're trying to inspire more people, not just to go into skills, but to go into the trades as a whole. So there's obviously a lot of pressure on your shoulders. I didn't think the competition was going to be as big as it was when I went there. So I walked into this giant venue with a million different booths and everything going on, with thousands of people walking around. I'm thinking, what the hell I gotten myself into?
And how big was the team from Yukon? How many of you was there?
There was, if I'm remembering correctly, I think there was around 8 competitors and around 15 or 16 people from Team Yukon that came down.
That's pretty cool. And I know I all the welding instructors always get together, and I know that I was out having beers with the Yukon welding instructor, and he was telling me about how awesome it is up there and how I gotta go visit, and someday I will. We were actually, the year before COVID, we're ready to go camping. We were gonna go all the way up to Whitehorse I live in Regina, Saskatchewan, so we were gonna go up and over and up drive. And I thought it would be awesome. Like we love to camp, and I have a little tiny pop-up trailer. It would be like perfect, right? So
the BC side of the Alaska Highway, when you're coming up to Whitehorse, is absolutely gorgeous, and there are so many like very, very picturesque places just to stop, set up camp, and have a great time.
Well, you're selling the province really well here, Connor. Good job. So you get to the competition in Vancouver. It's huge, a little bit overwhelming. What did your trainers do to help you get in the right mindset, being like, okay, look, you got a shot at this, Connor. You can do this,
Honestly, I wasn't allowed to talk to my trainer too much, because he was on the NAC board. Aaron being on the NAC means that I can't communicate with him that much until after the competition's over. But he basically, before the competition, said, you just give it your best shot. I 100% believe that you have a shot at this because I think you are a damn good electrician. And I basically just went in there and I basically did the best job that I could do. I just treated it like it was another day on the job, realistically, just making sure I do quality and making sure I get it done in a timely manner.
Now, when you talk about all the different codes across Canada and different tips and tricks and, requirements, when you go to do a competition in Vancouver, did you have to do your electrical work to BC code or how did it work?
I'm actually not 100% sure how they judged the code, but I basically had a code book that went off of Alberta and they accepted it.
Okay. Now, walk me through what the competition was. What did you actually have to do for the electricians that might be listening, being like, "Oh, anyone can go do it," or they'll understand your speak, So what was the competition?
So essentially what you get is a plywood box that has 3 faces on it and is open at the back. And you get a set of prints, a design, and basically you get a list of what they want prepared, because you have one section of house wiring, you have a main service there for like a panel and a bunch of emergency lighting, and you also have a side with motor controls and having to make a motor turn on and stuff like that. They're adding programmable logic controllers to the event, which is pretty damn cool. So they give you a spec sheet, you have to put it all together, you have to make it to code, you have to make it look as nice as possible, and then it gets judged based off of appearance, it gets judged based off of how to spec it is, and how to code it is.
I know when I was walking through, and I've been going for years now, and I always look at the electrician stuff, and I look at all the things that are being done there, and then I come home and look at my house built in the 40s and look around at the electrical work in my house and realize that nothing is done like that. And I was like, I wonder if my entire residential home is against every code that exists today. Like if they had to rewire my whole house, if it would be completely different.
Let me put it this way. We've got a lot of old trailers up here, and I've had to rip some wiring out of some old trailers, and I am shocked that they allowed it back then.
Well, I know that as a welder, I'm not a very good electrician. I've wired some plugs in my life that I've been told I'm not allowed to, and we're not supposed to touch that stuff, but, sometimes you do because welding machines show up without plugs. And you got to be like, oh, man, I got to wire this in. And it comes with instructions, and it seems like I should be able to do it, but I'm not, because there's lots of rules for electricians. There's lots and lots of rules.
Yeah, there is. And inspectors will be just chomping at the bit to make sure that you're following those rules.
So you go through the competition and you feel like you did all right. Did you come out of it pretty confident prior to judging?
I came out of it hoping to at least medal. I came out of it with a pretty good feeling that I was going to at least medal, but I did not think I was going to win because I had a guy next to me that blew through it and around half the time and got it all working properly. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to kick my ass.
What province was he from?
It was the silver medal winner, Curtis. And I believe he was from, I think it was from New Brunswick. Was it Nova Scotia or New Brunswick? I think it was Nova Scotia. And
he's somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And I think all 3 medal winners weren't from anywhere like Ontario or weren't from like Alberta or any of the big like provinces. They were, I think it was a territory and then like Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, which is pretty cool, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It shows to show you can find quality anywhere.
Well, absolutely. There's great training programs everywhere and great teachers all over the place, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, as you are waiting to find out how you did, how did you find out? You don't find out till you're at the stage, or do you get an email or a text saying, hey, guess what?
I was almost, Aaron, my instructor who's on the NAC board, he knew that I won before anyone else did. And he blabbed to one of the skills chairs for the Yukon. And he had to basically he basically sent her a text that said, I'm feeling golden. And he basically then had to tell her not to tell me because you're not supposed to find us till you go up to the podium. So I did not know until I went up to the podium. They did a pretty good job of keeping it from me, even though I ran into Aaron at the bar that night.
Yeah. That's I know you got to keep your mouth shut when you have all the competitors around because you like talking about it with the other people, other judges. But then, there's a lot of competitors rolling around and they like to snoop around too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And then you found out, and then the moment comes. You're at the stage. They say, you know what, Connor Kaszycki, you got gold. What ran through your head? How did you feel?
My first thought was, holy. My second thought was, how did this happen? And then my third thought was, let's go.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, I believe Riley, one of our skills directors here, recorded the medal ceremony and posted a live stream of it to Facebook. And I believe in that stream, you could hear me shout when my name gets called, "Let's go!"
And then it's over. Then it's over. And then what? What happens? You get your gold medal. All this work, all this dedication time, and what happens after? What happens to Connor? What happens to you, your instructor, the program?
Well, the first thing I believe that happened was I got back to Whitehorse and I had a bunch of radio interviews to do. I had a bunch of people wanting to know about my experience, and so I told as many people as I can. I participate in as many workshops as I can to help out any of the a bunch of high schooler kids, basically, who I want to get involved into the trades. And it was essentially just continues to happen is just giving back mostly, which is why I'm on the alumni board in the first place. It's because I love just giving back, and I want to give back since I want other people to feel the same kind of experience that I felt going up to get that medal, to feel that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. And, you said at the beginning of the interview that, you got the bug, the skills bug, and it took you a while to catch the skills bug, but then when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was winning the catalyst? Was competing the catalyst? Where was it that the bug got really buried in?
I think the bug got really buried in when I went up to get my medal, but even competing in the first place was just an incredible experience that I don't think I'm ever going to forget.
And then what kind of arrangement did you make with yourself now? Like, you have to work. There's life. There's things. You're, I assume, a journey person now and working full time. And, what kind of decisions did you make with yourself saying, you know what, I want to contribute to this. I want to be a part of this. How far can I go? So what do you do now? And what is it you're trying to achieve?
Well, I think just getting achievements for the sake of getting achievements means nothing to me personally. Like, if I'm going to get something like a gold medal, or I'm going to get rewarded for my efforts, I want to pass that knowledge on to as many people as I can.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you do that? What's the best way? Do you still work with your old mentor? Are you mentoring now young skills competitors outside of this, generic, group of PTCs where you're all like, yay, our trade, which is good. We need to do that. But are you singularly involved with anyone?
Well, I have a few apprentices at work that are basically second and third years. They're trying to get to compete and trying to push skills at. And I always tell them, hey, it's a fun experience. Take it from me personally. I had an amazing time with it. You guys will too. Doesn't matter if you win or not. It's just so much fun to go down there and have a good time with the competition. And even just check out everything else, because there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes on there.
And then in terms of working with the committee and the group, what is it that you do now? What is your position, and what does some of that work look like?
So right now my position is I'm currently on the alumni board, which means that I sit on our meetings to help decide as a former competitor and as a voice to help see how they can make the competition better and see what I can do to promote the competition to other areas of Whitehorse, as well as I'm also helping out within my territory's own skills departments, volunteering, holding workshops, going to teach classes, stuff like that.
And what's the long-term, I guess, gig that you're looking for? Do you see yourself as an electrician for the rest of your life? Do you think about starting a business? Do you think about becoming a teacher? What is it that you see Connor doing in 10 years?
I've always been interested in the engineering side of things. That's been my end goal. While I'm still a ways off from that, and I'll likely have to go back to school. Engineering has definitely been my end goal, but I've also really want to stick around with skills too, because I had an amazing time with skills. I want to give back as much as I can, and I think my experience and my story would help inspire others to do the same.
Well, and we need We need people that are in it for the long haul. I know many people in my age that we've been volunteering since our 20s and stuff. And
Yeah.
once you start, it's really hard to stop. People will ask you all the time, like, why do you do that? You don't get paid for it, but there's some perks. You get some travel, you get some stuff, but that's the smallest part of it. The biggest part is the people you meet and the relationships you make and build and watching your
Absolutely.
industry grow, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the best part about it all is this. I love meeting new people. I love travel. I love to travel and meet people from around the world. And the more connections I can make, the better.
Hmm. And how is the industry doing in Yukon? If someone's listening and says, I would like to come up to the territories for work or for school, would it be tough, or is it, what piece of advice would you say to them about moving up there?
I think the biggest piece of advice I can give you is it's definitely challenging. It's definitely different from where you come from up here. It's no Ontario, that's for sure. We're not like a large sprawling metropolis. We're just a small community of around 200,000 people, I believe, total throughout the territory. But once you get an in here, people treat you like family. They're never going to let you go, and you're never leaving. You're stuck here forever.
That's what I say to people about Regina. People make fun of the prairies, but once you come to the prairies, it's really hard to leave because it's a really good place to live. So it's hard to walk away from that, So now in terms of, advice for someone listening to this, who's an electrician, let's say first year electrician, they're just getting into school. I know Skills is planning on releasing these to across Canada for all the people to use as informational. So what would you say, Connor, in terms of your own experience to someone young and that's thinking or on the fence about becoming part of the Skills, journey?
It's 100% worth it. It's regardless of whether you want to stay within the trade your whole life or you want to move on to something else in the future, it's always a great starting point and it's always a great fallback to have. It's not going to be easy. I'll tell you that much right now, because I've had my fair share of challenges going through electrical and learning how to use tools and learning how everything goes together and stuff like that. But being able to flip that breaker or throw on that switch, see the lights come on, see those motors spin, see and hear everything starting to work within a project, the feeling for that is indescribable. And that sense of accomplishment that you get at the end of the day, at the end when everything comes together, is the best part of my job, honestly.
Awesome. Well, I love it. And I hope people find some inspiration and to get into the electrical fields. Right now, across Canada, we know that we have a massive trade shortage in every single trade that's listed at Skills, literally everyone.
Yep.
And we need young people to get involved. So, I really appreciate it. And before we leave the interview, is there any shout outs, anything you'd like to say to anybody, anything you'd like to let the people know before we go?
Well, I really would like to thank Aaron. I know I've mentioned him a couple of times here, but he really has been the one mentoring me through all of this, and he's been basically a complete bedrock. He's been amazing, and he's teaching at the college still, and I hope everything's been going well. My family for supporting me through all of this, my loving girlfriend and my wonderful parents, as well as the people I work with too, because my journeyman as well supporting me, and my company Evergreen as well, since they're the ones allowing me to take time out of my life and take time out of work to help and volunteer and do all these things. So they've been excellent. They've been fantastic, and I just can't wait to see where everything goes.
I love it. And you just nailed a whole bunch of things that need to happen for us to have a big, happy Canada. Support from family, support from school, support from education, support from industry. That's a huge part, is not having the fear that you're going to get fired because you're going to go volunteer. And that's wonderful that your company allows that. So that's great. And I really appreciate it.
Yes. And I'm very appreciative of them as well for allowing me to do this.
Awesome, Connor. Well, thank you very much for being a part of this fantastic series. I can't wait. I assume you're going to be in Winnipeg for Nationals?
Yes, I will.
Well, I'll see you there. I'll be there too. And, it's going to be another great year of Skills. And thank you very much for taking time to be on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me, Max.
All right. And for all the people that have been following along and listening, if this is the first one, we are going to have a whole series of interviews across Canada, different trades, different people, different positions. And we're going to be wrapping up the whole series with live recordings at Winnipeg at Skills National. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you get to Winnipeg for the national. Support your provincials. Support your local jurisdictional ones. There's skills happening everywhere all year round. So be a part, volunteer, and help out. And I'll see you in Winnipeg and catch you at the next show. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the show.